You're kidding.
No, not at all.
I knew I loved her.
A sculpture was brought by the guest, which was purchased for $1,150. It was a 25th wedding anniversary gift given to the guest's mother by his father. The sculpture, called The Turtle Baby, was crafted by Edith Parsons, a renowned American sculptor. The appraiser provided background details about the artist, who was born in the 1870s. The wonderful piece was created along with similar works like The Duck Baby and Frog Baby. The sculpture features a girl with an ecstatic expression holding turtles, with water spouting from the base. Originally placed in an outdoor brick patio, it is now kept indoors by the guest. This affected the value of the piece, but the appraiser still considered the piece to be in good condition. The American 20th century garden sculpture was valued at
between $35,000 and $40,000 for it.
You're kidding.
No, not at all.
I knew I loved her. All right. Really?
The guest brought in a Celadon Bowl, a gift from her uncle who served in the military after World War II. The uncle brought the bowl back from Japan and had it been sitting in the guest's family for many years. The seemingly ordinary bowl turned out to be a valuable piece of Chinese porcelain. Wrapped in a worn box with a Japanese inscription, the inscription is recognized as a collector's label. For centuries, the Japanese have been enthusiastic collectors of Celadon ceramics, and often these high-quality pieces from China ended up finding new homes in Japan. Finding a piece in a Japanese collector's box was a sign of good quality and connoisseurship. The inscription on the box matched the bowl perfectly, indicating that the box was specifically made to hold this particular piece. Despite the worn box and its unassuming storage under the guest's bed, the bowl itself was in excellent condition. The estimated auction value of this item is
$80,000 to $120,000.
All right. Really? And it's under my bed all the time?
A badge collector's dream is what we have here, and this is not because they were used in World War II. It is in fact because they are quite rare pieces that any collector would dream of having.
He has this book, Regimental Designations, which is something that World War II collectors are so interested in, the badges that go on the sleeve.
These cloth badges are the holy grail of World War II badges because they were given to nearly every single person in World War II. There's also a book here that shows the various ways to make badges. This book was given to factories to streamline their badge-making process.
You have some badges that I've only ever seen pictures of. So here we've got the Air Sea Rescue badge. I'm going to touch it because I've never come across a real one of those.
This is a rare collection that would definitely fetch a high auction price of
£10,000.
Oh my God.
Each stitch on the Navajo Weaving showcases tales of cultural evolution and artistic ingenuity. The guest inherited this item from his grandfather after he passed away.
It was going to be thrown away, and I, being 12, 13 years old, I dragged it home.
Transitional weaving techniques became vogue circa 1905 among the Navajo tribe. Adorning the weaving is homespun yarn in dark brown and cream colors. However, the red color within the weaving is from commercial synthetic dye. It was woven on an upright loom with a pictorial depiction of an American steam locomotive in the middle. Interestingly, this piece dates back to 1890 and originated from the Navajo Reservation area in New Mexico. There are spots, and some red dye has bled into the weaving. At auction, this item, being a symbol of cultural heritage, would be valued at
$8,000 and $10,000.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This Ceasefire Note from World War I belonged to the guest's father and was possibly given by a dear friend who also babysat them. The note, dated November 11, 1918, was issued just before the armistice was signed to stop hostilities, instructing troops to hold their positions and not move back, pending further instructions. Although such notes were common during the war, few have survived.
These notes would have been given to all company commanders by their superior officers to tell them what to do when they were supposed to stop fighting.
And this ceasefire note is in excellent condition. Despite its historical value, the note is conservatively estimated at
Of $800 to $1,200, and could do better at auction given the content and his service.
Oh, I see.
It's a magnificent piece of painting, is what anyone in their right mind would say. It's not every day you see a beautiful landscape painting like this one, with its scintillating and appealing look. The painting was created by a man called Charles Dixon in 1920. The painting depicts a landscape in what appears to be a ship's seaport.
The Thames runs fast.
Yes.
How are you going to maneuver these things around with oars? And of course, he's waiting for the tide to change.
A distinguishing aspect of this painting, despite its beauty, is that it was found in the trash. The painting features an unusual use of watercolor which enhances its appearance. In a proper auction, this painting, with all of its ravishing magnificence, would sell for
£3,000 and £5,000.
Well, I will have some of it then,
Really? Oh, goodness.
You don't see jewelry like this every day. This brooch is certainly a masterpiece owing to its design. The brooch features a hoop-like design that depicts a ram's head. The jewelry is from the Victorian era of the 19th century, around 1860 to 1865. The brooch is called revivalist jewelry.
It's broken off, it's a bit worn, it's a bit bent, it's a bit tired, a bit miserable.
Sorry about that, John.
And it was made by arguably one of the century's best designers, Pio Fortunato Castellani. In this century, it's quite rare to see original designs such as this. That's why, for such a masterpiece, this brooch would auction at the retail price of
The best part of £1,000 for it.
Really? Oh, goodness.
Our guest family has owned this chair for as long as they can remember, likely purchased by their architect father in the early days. Designed by Charles and Ray Ames, this chair embodies the mid-century modern period, featuring a molded fiberglass shell atop a rear rocking chair base. Originally designed for indoor or outdoor use, it became popular as a nursing rocking chair for expecting mothers. Charles Ames was known for his redesigns, evident in elements like the rubber shock mounts, the rope embedded in the shell, and the wood rockers.
Were redesigned to be a little bit beefier, but to take a little bit more stress. So the next version was a little bit squarer and a little bit taller.
The metal base, a design study of strength and engineering, features an X-frame structure and wires crossing underneath, a design that was quickly modified for comfort. Produced between 1948 and 1950, this chair was likely made after October 1950 when it was released in colors. Despite some refinishing and a minor repair, likely due to a loose strut, the chair retains its rarity and value, estimated at
$1,500 at auction.
Okay.
Our guest's parents owned this piece, which was originally from Mexico in the 1950s and later placed by their pool. Purchased for $500 in 1962, the piece was tested and found to have no evidence of modern tool marks. However, stylistically, the piece does not align with traditional Olmec art, known for its great balance and elegance. Despite not being authentic Olmec, the piece still holds value on the decorative market, estimated at
$1,500 to $2,500.
While the piece may not be a major art find, its decorative value and history as a family heirloom still make it a valuable and meaningful piece. A group of Olympic postcards is what we have on the show today. Our guest acquired the collection from his great-uncle, who competed in the 1908 Olympics.
He ran in the 400-meter race and the 400-meter relay.
Wow.
Unfortunately, no medal.
Pictured on these postcards are members of the U.S. track and field team. One of these postcards features Ray Urey, who participated in 3 different Olympic Games. At auction, this piece alone would be valued at
$500 to $1,000.
Captured on another postcard is a photograph of another team member, J.B. Taylor, who was the first African American to win an Olympic gold medal. This signed postcard at auction would fetch a value of
$2,500 on this particular postcard.
The guest's great-uncle is also featured on one of these postcards. Surprisingly, postcards like these aren't rare, but what makes these ones special are the signatures they bear. There are 65 more postcards brought to the show, and being a beacon of athleticism, they are estimated to be worth
About $100 a piece. So let's say about $6,000 for that grouping.
Our guest acquired these clubs along with a full set of irons at an antique show in Brimfield, Mass. Upon closer inspection, the guest discovered that the clubs were brand new and had Splendid Splinter inscribed on them, a nickname associated with Ted Williams. Ted Williams, known for his baseball career and later managing the Washington Senators, received these clubs around 1969 or 1970. Made by Tony Penna, chief club designer for McGregor, these clubs were likely prototypes sent to Ted Williams, adding to their rarity and value. Left-handed clubs are harder to find than right-handed ones, making this set more desirable among collectors. While collecting golf clubs from the 1940s and 1950s are popular, these clubs' value lies not just in being golf clubs, but in their association with Ted Williams. Without Ted Williams' association, the clubs would be rare.
They're just not desirable. There are far more of these clubs than collectors out there.
The estimated value for the group of clubs, including the irons, is
$100 to $300 for the group of them. And they're beautiful. They're stunningly made. But because they're Williams, I would put an auction estimate of probably $1,500 to $2,000.
No kidding. Terrific.
Purchased at an antique sale about 25 years ago at about $125 and $75 each, this toy, camel, and monkey are brought in for appraisal. This toy was manufactured by Stieff in 1908. The camel had a bad hull damage that was repaired, and some little gold tassels were added to stabilize it. This is the largest camel made by Stieff in the 19th century with cast iron wheels and is still in good condition. A common feature of Stieff animals is the button that they have in their ears, but this is not on the monkey, and it seems to have fallen off. But buttons were not found in large animals like the camel. At an auction and a retail sale, this camel would probably fetch around $4,000 to $5,000. The monkey, Jocko the monkey as he was called, is also large, but is in bad condition. Hence, it would be priced at $1,200 to $1,500 at an auction. So, as a pair, these toys would be priced at
$5,000 to $6,500 for the pair.
For the pair?
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing them in.
This quilt was made by the guest's grandmother, who grew up with a lady, a member of the Women's Relief Corps, and auxiliary to the GAR. She went to all the conventions held by the Women's Relief Corps, the group that supported the veterans of the Union Army from the Civil War. An interesting fact is that she collected many different ribbons that were dated, though most were from Iowa. Most of the ribbons are from the 1890s and one from 1901. This item is styled like a quilt, which was popular in the late 19th century and early 20th century. But it seems the quilt was made earlier than that era because a ribbon dated 1909 looks as though it was added as an afterthought. Ribbons from WRC are difficult to sell and are priced as low as $10 to $15. However, this was put together to appear as an artwork, but there are some damaged ones which would affect the price. Nevertheless, it is an interesting piece, having about 100 WRC ribbons, and would probably be insured for
$1,000 and $1,500.
Thank you so much, Beth.
Here is a christening bowl that has been in the guest's family for many years. During a christening, it held significant rum butter for blessing the baby, and everybody would have some of it. Then, after it was cleaned, it was passed to collect money for the baby. Inside the bowl is the name Nelson Glory, August 2nd, 1798, meaning it was made after the Battle of the Nile. Initially, it belonged to a North Country family, the Phil family, who were a great family of potters. This bowl, with its bright colors, is underglazed to give it so much beauty, and it lacks a mark. It is not just an earthenware, but a pearlware made in 1798. And at an auction, this bowl would be worth about
worth £4,000 to £5,000. It's the finest bowl that I've ever seen in earthenware. I'm a porcelain man, but that really turns me on.
This beautiful, picturesque collection of silver spoons acquired about 10 years ago is brought in for appraisal. At the back of one set of spoons is a heron sign dated back to 1750 and is thought to be one of the Jacobi spoons. The Jacobi was a secret society in England in the mid-18th century and was known by various symbols like the one on the spoon. On another spoon set is a teapot sign, which is very rare and is dated around 1760. Another spoon set has a Masonic sign, and they are all rarities. For the Masonic spoons, the price estimate would be over £1,000. The heron spoons would be priced at £600 to £800, and the teapot spoons would be worth around $200 to $300 each. The last item in this collection is an old Puritan spoon with a maker's mark, AG, on it. Dated back to 1650, it is a transition between the early English and the modern spoon. This spoon is in great condition and would be worth around
That's of £700 to £800.
The guest brought in two posters, a Bellagio and a Lake Garda poster, purchased at a flea market for appraisal. At the time they were purchased, the Bellagio poster was in very bad condition with water stains at the top and bottom. A restoration process was carried out on the poster called linen mounting. In the linen mounting process, the linen is like canvas, and then the poster is mounted on an acid-free paper through a reversible process. Then, after mounting the posters, it can be repainted and filled. In a better condition, the Bellagio poster would be auctioned at $1,900, but in its present condition, it is estimated at $1,200 to $1,800. However, the Lake Garda is in top shape besides the trim on the top and the bottom, so it's estimated at the same price of $1,200 to $1,800. Hence, the total estimate of both posters is
$2,400 to $3,600.
Excellent. Nice.
Presented before us today is a signed complete set of tickets of Coach Arbach. Arbach was an American professional basketball coach and executive. The guest acquired it from the coach when he met him years ago. He was the head of the Boston Celtics from 1950 to 1966, and he's also credited with one of the shrewdest moves in NBA history. Interestingly, Arbach got inducted into Basketball Hall of Fame as a coach in 1969. Signed items by the coach are really very desirable by collectors. At auction, an important part of basketball history like this would be valued at
We're between $2,000 and $2,500.
Wow! And it would be worth.
Before us is an antique violin, a true masterpiece of artistry and elegance. It belonged to this guest's grandfather, who was a professional musician. There is a slight condition issue, however, caused by a crack running along the surface. Inside the violin is a label bearing the maker's name, Jean-Laurent Clement, who was a famous violin maker in Paris in the early 19th century.
I thought that he was a violin maker himself, but he employed some of the top makers.
The remarkable quality and craftsmanship of this masterpiece undoubtedly points to Georges Chanot. Chanot, a very well-known and prestigious French violin maker. Superior quality wood was employed in the creation of this timeless masterpiece, the same variety of wood used to make violins in the 16th century. This beautiful violin has endured the test of time and would have an impressive auction value of. The violin comes in a high-quality case made out of alligator skin, which would auction for
$350.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it would be worth.
A master of poetry and its art, this guest's great-grandfather was honored over 100 times and awarded the Eisteddfod Bardic Chair, of which 5 have been presented.
Up to 100, they think.
Sorry?
Up to 100.
Up to 100?
Yeah.
Do you have more of them?
There's another 2 in our close family. My brother has 2, and they're in Cardiff.
It's astonishing for any appraiser to see so many Eisteddfod chairs in one place simultaneously. The man behind this remarkable achievement is Thomas Evans Nicholas, known by his bardic name, Nicholas Igles. He was a Welsh language poet, preacher, radical, and advocate for the disadvantaged. Among the 5 chairs presented, 2 are from regional Eisteddfods, created from recycled materials.
Possibly didn't have a very big purse. They needed a bardic chair to award, so you get things like this, which is a continental, literally office or cafe chair.
While not as grand as the national Eisteddfod chairs, they are equally remarkable. Steeped in the Welsh Eisteddfod tradition, these authentic chairs have an estimated value of
This for £300 or £400.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Honestly, really, you sure?
Collected over 100 years ago, this guest has presented us with an artifact from his daughter-in-law's family, who were antique collectors.
It belongs to the family of my son's wife, and it was collected, as I gather, hundreds of years ago.
This exquisite piece of a musical penknife of Swiss origin featuring 2 silver gilded blades. The penknife's case is adorned with intricate hand enameling and inlaid with sea pearls. A compartment at the bottom opens up to reveal a mechanism that plays a tune when wound. The penknife dates back to the 1810s or 1820s. Unfortunately, the key brought along by the guest is broken off, so it can't wind up the music.
My suggestion is get a new key piece, wind it up very carefully,
right,
and then tell me what it plays.
Indeed, yes. That'd be interesting.
This unusual musical instrument, part mechanical marvel, is quite unique and in excellent condition, would sell for
between 60 and 80,000 pounds.
Honestly, really, you sure?
The center of conversation are antique fly fishing gear. The 3 interesting pieces brought in today are a Jim Payne split bamboo fly rod from the 1930s, a leather creel made by McMoney's Saddle Upholstery in the 1920s, and a Philbrook and Payne fly reel from the 1870s. The Jim Payne rod is a classic example of split bamboo fly rod construction, where the hollow core is made by splitting a length of bamboo into thin strips and then laminating them back together with glue. This process creates a strong, lightweight, and flexible rod that is perfect for fly fishing. The extra tips that come with the rod were a common feature of well-made rods from this era. The estimated retail value is at
Would be $4,000.
The leather creel is unique because it was designed by a McMoney's factory worker who wanted a more durable creel. It is buck-stitched with rawhide, a more difficult technique, and has a misspelled nameplate of MacMoney's instead of McMoney's. The estimated retail value is at
Would be $3,000.
The Philbrook and Payne reel is particularly rare because it is the only one known to be marked with the Leonard Company name, as it was made when Payne worked for Leonard. And judging from its condition and significance, its retail value is
Would be $10,000.
Well, with all the money you spent on this fantastic collectible fishing equipment, it still doesn't help you get fish in the boat, does it?
No.
The guest brought in a collection of nesting baskets and placemats made by the Atacapa Indians. The baskets were accompanied by a letter written in 1884 by Mary E. McKinney, a descendant of the Avery family and wife of the founder of Tabasco sauce. The letter describes the baskets as being made by a dwindling tribe of Atacapa Indians and mentions finding similar baskets buried underground. The baskets are a rare and valuable example of Atacapa craftsmanship, noting that their unique flat design and symbolic patterns. The estimated value of the nesting baskets is said to be
around $4,000 to $5,000.
And the placements is to be
Same estimate on the 26 placemats.
Bringing the total value to
$8,000 to $10,000 worth of baskets.
Amazing.
But the history attached to it.
This looks like a single portrait of Charlotte Bronte, but embedded under her portrait is what you'd least expect. It's a fine portrait of arguably the world's best poet, William Shakespeare. It's quite extraordinary because you don't often see this kind of picture frame. The portrait of Williams was probably made from pastel, which, at the time of this portrait's drawing, was quite popular. Despite the fact that pastel deteriorates like chalk,
and you can tell that this is an early pastel because of the laid paper. You can see the lines running through.
This portrait of William Shakespeare is quite appealing and, due to this, would auction at
£600 to £800.
Wow. Amazing.
The guest brought in a historical map that her father received as a gift from a man whose great-great-grandfather was the founding father of their town. The map was a token of appreciation for the guest's father's help in fundraising for the town's bicentennial celebration. The map is believed to be from the late 1800s or early 1900s, but is revealed to be much older, dating back to around 1640. The map was created by John Johnson, a famous Dutch mapmaker from the 17th century. The fact that the map depicted the Americas, a popular subject among collectors, further increased its value. The estimated value of the map is to be
about $3,000.
Oh my goodness, that's really cool.
The guest brought in a trio of items with a fascinating connection to their young uncle, Jack Burke: a pair of chaps, a set of spurs, and a photograph. The photo depicted a 3-year-old Jack sporting the very spurs the guest brought in. The guest believed the spurs, decorated with Mexican silver centavos, originated from Mexico. The chaps were identified as shotgun chaps, a style commonly used during the trail drive era. Unlike the wide-leg chaps most people are familiar with, shotgun chaps were designed for young riders and were a bygone style. A pair so small has never been seen before and were likely custom-made for Jack. However, the lack of markings meant the chaps themselves held a modest value of
$1,200 to $1,500.
The spurs are the work of Joe Bianchi, a renowned Italian spur maker who had a workshop in Victoria, Texas. Bianchi's clientele included famous ranchers and ordinary cowboys alike. The engraving style and the distinctive 5-pointed star roll were Bianchi's hallmarks. The fact that these were a child-sized pair made by a celebrated maker significantly increases their desirability. The estimated value is
worth the same.
In a recent appraisal, the value of the items increased to a total of $3,000 to $3,500. The guest presented a portrait and a hand-stitched wallet, both boasting an incredible family history. The first item, identified as a ship portrait, was deemed exceptionally rare and sought after. The appraiser shed light on Captain Charles Lincoln, believed to be the guest's great-grandfather. Dating from around 1825 or 30, the ship portrait remained in good condition and retained its original ebonized frame. The second item, an 18th century flame-stitched wallet. It showcased depictions of black servants, a highly unusual feature for its time. Despite its age and wear, the wallet remained a unique piece with a significant historical value. Given the remarkable family history, the appraised value was
probably between $3,000 and $5,000. The wallet is probably worth in the area of, let's say, $10,000.
This is a fascinating collection of artifacts linked to Native Americans. The guest acquired these items from an antique store in Altoona, Pennsylvania. These items, a fixed head axe and a pipe, are both claimed to have belonged to a Native American leader called Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull was a Hunkpapa Lakota leader who led his people during years of resistance against United States government policies. However, there's a disconnect in the documentation linking the items directly to Sitting Bull.
But there was a huge disconnect between the notarized piece and then the paperwork that followed.
Upon closer examination of the fixed head axe, we note modern elements in its construction, suggesting it was assembled later than claimed. Meanwhile, the pipe is authenticated as a well-crafted piece from the Eastern Plains or Great Lakes region.
These pipes are used in both secular and ceremonial times, and it really is a beautifully painted, well-executed piece.
Although these items are well made and can be said to be of Native American origins, proving their historical ownership without solid documentation is difficult. At auction, if these items can be definitively tied to the great Native American leader Sitting Bull, they would fetch a significant sum of
$300 to $400.
All right.
Yes.
Today, we delve into a remarkable art collection. The guest acquired these pieces, including a lithograph and a drawing, at various auctions. These works are made by a master known for his fusion of Chinese and Western art traditions, Zhao Wuqi. Wuqi was a Chinese-French painter who graduated from the China Academy of Art in Hangzhou and was a member of the Académie des Beaux-Arts in Paris.
Though he was learning calligraphy and traditional Chinese arts and Chinese styles, he was looking at Western art books.
The collection features 2 etchings, identified by their distinct plate marks. The etchings capture Zhao Wuqi's transition from representational to abstract art, highlighting both figural and landscape themes. The unique ink drawing exemplifies Wuqi's early calligraphic style. These pieces by Zhao Wuqi are not only remarkable finds, but also hold significant value, and at auction would be worth
$20,000 to $25,000.
No.
Yes.
An army marches on its stomach is a phrase often heard in the military. Before now, most people didn't understand it, But this World War I cookbook can provide a context. Most people don't know how armies are fed during a war, but this cookbook provides an insight into how it felt to be a chef in a ravaging war.
Take 1 bullock's head, 1 pinch of spice, 4 cow's heads, and 1 ounce of salt.
The book is well detailed because, just like everyone else, soldiers are human too, and they need food. What's interesting about this story of this cookbook is that, despite being a cook, the owner still got injured on the front line. As a piece of World War I history, this cookbook would auction today at,
I mean, you're probably looking at somewhere around about £200, £250.
A historically significant libation set from the Civil War era, consisting of a pitcher, 2 goblets, and an oval tray, has been handed down through 5 generations of family. He inherited this piece from his great-great-grandfather, who served as the governor of Maryland during the Civil War. This set, made by the Garm Silver Company, is crafted from coined silver, melted down coins reformed into this elegant ensemble. Inscribed to the governor of Maryland, it was a gift from the 3rd Maryland Regiment, bearing the date December 24, 1861. Maryland's pivotal role during the Civil War adds to the set's historical importance. The libation set, with its original pieces and shared inscriptions, is a testament to this turbulent period. Conservatively valued, this unique piece of historical silver is estimated to be worth between
$12,000 to $15,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
A beautifully crafted carousel, fashioned after an old flying jenny, was brought by a guest. It features intricately designed figures including horses, goats, deer, lions, and tigers. Each piece is meticulously carved in painted wood, showcasing extraordinary detail and artistry. The carousel also includes a beautifully carved eagle finial and figures such as Uncle Sam and a band of musicians. About 25 years ago, the guest purchased this admired carousel from an antique shop after a long admiration.
I saw him at a show or went to the shop. I admired it. It was more than a school teacher's salary could afford.
This unique piece came with a documented history of its maker, a man with the last name Malik. Constructed approximately 90 years ago, it has been consigned by Malik's great-grandson. Additional features include a fretwork cut with a jigsaw and a salvaged clockwork mechanism.
We're going to see the flying Jenny do a little flying.
And Uncle Sam moved.
The carousel's intricate design and historical value make it highly desirable, with an estimated retail value of
$8,000 to $12,000.
Oh my, thank you, thank you.
The guest shared an interesting story about the vest he brought. The guest's great-great-great-grandfather, who was a 49er, went to the California gold rush in the 1840s. The vest was used by the ancestor to sew coins into it to protect them from robbers. They noticed that the vest still shows the circles where the coins were sewn. The appraiser recounted the history of the 1849 California gold rush, which started with John Sutter, a Swiss immigrant, building a mill in the Sacramento area. His foreman, James Marshall, discovered gold, and news quickly spread, igniting the gold rush. The era was marked by violence, gambling, and lawlessness, with travelers often facing dangers. Considering the historical significance, the value suggested was,
but probably somewhere in the vicinity of about $2,000 to $3,000.
Is that right?
Nothing short of extraordinary, these Edwardian drawings are a true find. This guest brought along 2 portraits she inherited from her grandmother, who received them from a neighbor cleaning out their home. The portraits are signed by the talented artist Thomas Percival Anderson and date back to the early 20th century. Anderson, who served as a lieutenant during the First World War, was renowned for his portraits of brigadiers and generals in the Army. These particular portraits are of the Cust family children, who lived at Belton House during the period. Previously appraised modestly due to a lack of information, this newfound knowledge of their origin now significantly increases their value to
£3,000 each, possibly more.
Oh, great. Great.
A cherished collection of historical silhouettes from a grandmother's estate has fascinated the guest since childhood. This collection features prominent figures: George Ticknor, a historian and critic; Sylvanus Thayer, a U.S. Army colonel, Daniel Webster, a famous New England statesman, and Levi Woodbury, the Secretary of the Treasury. These artworks were created by Auguste Oudot, a French silhouette artist born in 1789. He was renowned for his skill and productivity, aiming to capture the likeness of notable Americans.
And he was the most prolific and most successful of all silhouette artists, probably for all time.
Using a free-cut technique, Edouard hand-cut each silhouette with sharp scissors during live sittings. During his time in America from 1840 to 1846, Edouard produced over 10,000 silhouettes. Unfortunately, many of his records and duplicates were lost in a shipwreck during his return to England in 1849.
Turned to England in 1849 aboard a ship called the Oneida, and it was shipwrecked.
This loss has rendered the surviving silhouettes exceptionally rare and valuable, with the collection estimated at auction.
We're talking about something that's in the range of $6,000 to $8,000 at auction.
Very good.
Today's item is unlike any Roadshow episode you've seen because, while it's been on the Roadshow before, new discoveries have been made about the item.
My parents had lots of parties, great parties, and he would always be there presiding over them.
The photograph shown here was thought to be of the landlord of the pub, but it's in fact not the landlord's.
It is actually William Wilson Newlands, who was the landlord of the Beehive Hotel in Coombs in Derbyshire.
The photograph is actually a depiction of the friend of the landlord of the pub. The photograph was done by another one of the landlord's friends, named Thomas Dogdale. This photograph serves as a remembrance of great friendship among friends. In today's auction market, how much do you think it would retail for?
So it's good for me. It's good for Grandad Newlands. So happy days.